listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Out of the Box podcast with myself, Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure. And as you know, we always bring you very insightful discussions every week, and this is where we get to discuss, all of the happenings, social political happenings across Nigeria. And on this particular episode, we are going to be discussing about a very, very interesting, subject. And it is basically surrounding the recent fee hike in tertiary institutions across the country. And as we know, we've had a series of protests, all across Nigeria where different, students affected by the fee hike have actually come out to say that they can afford to pay for to pay and to pay the increased fees, and it's really affecting them. So that's what basically we're going to be discussing today. And to join us in this conversation, we have two very wonderful guests. We have Femi Adeyeye, which is who is someone who has been seriously and actively involved in protest and advocacy to bring down the cost of the fees for Nigerian students. And he's also here. I'm also here with Diamond Temitope. She's actually a Nigerian student, one of the Nigerian students that went viral in the last weeks of protest against the Nigerian government, to bring down the fee hike, and school management to bring down the fees in schools. So she's going to be here with us. I'm sure you might have seen that video, where a lady was saying, oh, she can't afford, to pay these fees. These fees are so exorbitant. And so we have these two guests here with us in the studio today, and we're going to be talking to them real soon. So Femi, how you doing? It's a pleasure to finally have you on the Out of the Box podcast. How you doing, Femi?
Yes. I'm very good. I'm doing very fine. And thank you for the very good work you're doing, you and your team, actually. Thank you for doing the work of advocacy through radio. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we've seen how you've relentlessly put yourself on the line, like to push that push for students to be able to afford this education at a time where even protests are very unpopular right now, and we're just coming out of an election. Several people don't even want to get involved with any kind of protest. So I just want to ask you about the whole fee hike, because you're the only one that can give us like a very good background before we bring in Diamond. Like, you're the only one that can give us a very good background of the whole increment in fees. I'm sure you definitely are someone that has been active when it comes to speaking for students, speaking about education. A couple of years ago you had you've always had all these viral appearances, right? But you had one. I remember there was one where you were talking about the then president, or the now president, the now president. You're talking about him then. I think he was the VC of one
Uh,
school, right?
yeah, when it was the pro chancellor of Lautech.
Okay, yes. So, can you give us like a background? Give us like a rundown of like education in Nigeria, funding, and the several times that the government has tried to like hands off education and increase fees and push it down to the students.
All right, thank you very much. You've done a very good lead off actually into the issues. You see, education in Nigeria as we have it today is being commodified. It has been reduced to a commodity, wherein it was supposed to be a social investment. It should be a social service, especially in a developing country like ours. So when UNESCO came together, brought developing countries and, in fact, countries of the world, and they looked at education. They said developing countries should fund education to 26% of their budgets. That was a recommendation from UNESCO. And Nigeria happened to be, a signatory to that discussion. So when they said that, they did not say that the parents, the poor parents and the poor students in those developing countries should be the one funding that budget. They said governments, of these developing countries. So, but what we've seen today is that government has hands off education totally. They've been doing it with different, pattern of commercialization all these years. One of the commercial entity they've added in education is what I call this. It sounds very funny, but I used to stand against it way back before this time. The acceptance fee. It sounds very funny. Why do you offer someone an admission and then you ask the person to pay 20,000, 50,000 to accept the admission? It shows that you are commodifying it already. So they've always been doing commercialization. So, but where they are going to right now is total privatization of that sector, the same way they did with petrol subsidy or the oil sector, so that those in Lagos can now pay as high as 190, 200,000 naira federal schools. Obafemi Awolowo University, theirs is around 120, 130 because they feel Osun State is a state of civil servants. So you people may not have money like that. So you will pay the amount. So you will move away from that, move to a place like Benin. Theirs would be around 100, 105,000. Abuja, administrative capital. It seems you people have money somehow. Yours should be around 170. So that is what is happening right now. Deregulation, allowing university management to impose fees on students, commercialize anything they can lay their hands on, and just make sure that they fleece life out of the poor people and the poor students in this particular case in our country. And so we have always stood against this. It did not start today. Even today, I just checked my Facebook and I got a prompt from Facebook of something we've written as far back as 2018 as regards this fee. You know, the Wale Babalakin reports, the Stephen Orosai's report of 2013, several reports that were pointing to this whole issue that university students would begin to pay around 350,000 to 525,000 naira. So they've been planning this all these years, and we've been talking, we've been, bringing everybody to that consciousness. But it's as we have it today, it's becoming clearer, you know, to everybody what we've been saying over the years, and that is where we are. But we are also, educating ourselves, mobilizing people around this issue so that we can, reject it together. Because allowing this to stand is allowing underdevelopment in our country.
Yeah, thank you very much, Femi. I'm going to bring in Diamond at this particular time, and because I've heard a lot of people, say that Nigerian students, you see, I listen to a lot of political conversations, especially those that are, off the top, when platforms like Twitter. You hear a lot of people saying a lot of things, and a lot of people have said, these students, they can afford it, and there's this popular, argument from those that support maybe the ruling party or whatsoever. They'll tell you, oh, if they can't afford it, they should go get a loan or something, and they should or maybe just go do something else. But I really want to hear from Diamond. Diamond, I don't know if you are there. If you're there, you can unmute your mic so that you can contribute. At this particular time, are you there? Yeah. So just how hard is it for the average Nigerian student to like meet up with this fee increments?
It's very costly and us because even sustainability in school is a lot. Not talk more about the school pay hike and everything. We naturally know how we feed ourselves in school. Most of us there in school, I know my friends, I know people that in figure together that I know their story, I know their family background, I know what they do in school to actually feed themselves. After we talk of this field, everyone will be able to afford the job. You will think this okay because I can say majority of students in University of Lagos come there just because with the federal school it's affordable and it's in Lagos. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
if we coming to a federal school because it was cheaper, they shouldn't look like at all now. That's it. We are making education limited to those rich people, rich kids. You want the university now to be for the rich kids alone. So we the poor, we don't have access to education any longer. Because if at all we could actually afford the school fee of 200 plus, most of us won't be university of really growth. We'll find our way to private university. So, so we being in University of Lagos, we know what we wanted. We know why we came there. We know how our pocket full. We know how the pocket of our parents is. And we know what our money, the also we do, can do for us. And that's why we're in University of Lagos. So, increasing the thing shouldn't be something they should do to us. Because they are actually limiting us. If the poor can't afford it, they are actually letting us know that they should actually drop out. There's no access to education for the poor people.
So by your own assessment, if the government or the school management remains adamant, what do you think, like how drastic do you think the the impact will be on students? Like, you said a lot of your friends, and their background and how they struggle, to take care of themselves in school and everything, right? To put themselves, through school. In your own video, you said, you're even providing for yourselves. What do you think is going to be that impact that it's going to have, if the students, the school management and the government remains adamant on the fees?
I could probably say that 85% of students at the University of Lagos will drop out because it's not even that I speak up, just that I do. Do you understand?
Yeah. So yeah. So the school, the I want to hear from you as a student, your reaction to what the government says. The government is saying they can't afford to fund it. Do you believe that the government of Nigeria cannot afford to fund education?
That's all now. It shouldn't even be. Education should be their priority. Like it should be what they should invest in. Because we are the future. If you're saying you don't want to invest in education, you can't fund education. So what is the future of the country still? They want they want dropouts to start ruling in years to come. No, it can't be.
But they argue that our education in Nigeria is one of the cheapest education that you can find anywhere in the world.
This is a developing country. Things that work in foreign country can work there because our country is still underdeveloped. Yes, I can say. Because when a citizen is spending average more than a citizen is spending more average of $1 per day, and this that's poverty.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
It's poverty in a country where citizens spend less than $1 per day. It's poverty. How do you want that kind of citizen to actually get that kind of fund to pay for school fee? And our parents' minimum wage is just 30,000 naira. Minimum wage in this country is 30,000 naira. Is that what they pay in other country? No. So you look at what's giving out to your people to actually know what to bring to them. You cannot give us peanuts and expect us to pay good amount of money. Imagine me as a student hustling, trying to make living, and okay, as a student, I can't get a full-time job because I want to meet up with class and everything. How much do you think private owner business we offer me. The maximum she can give to me, or he or she can give to me is 20,000 naira. So how do I live with 20,000 naira? How do I pay the 10,000 naira? How do I pay my school with 10,000 naira? Even if I'm to pay it mentally, I can't afford it. I can't even make up it the payment. Very obvious.
Wow.
Because feeding itself, it's a lot on its own. If you as an investor, as a of investor of Lagos, if you want to say okay, I don't want to spend lavishly. I want to actually manage this money with me and get something to it. If you want to just get something to it in a small, you spend us 1,000 naira. Like you just want to buy something to just manage, you spend 1,000 naira.
Wow.
In a school where they sell a spoon of rice, 200 naira. Even I recently I heard that and some canteens have increased their price also. So how do you want us to move? If the country was in a better state, probably these country people will not increase that because they actually know how things are in the country now. Food stuff, everything, the price is now high. So
Yeah.
they make their own truth. So we can't blame them actually.
So
We cannot be looking,
yes, go ahead.
we cannot be looking for school fees and we are starving. How do we have strength to go to the class? If you actually need class, and that you actually have it our GP.
Wow.
And now when we talk about people, public return, that kind of after paying that kind of false exorbitant, coming out of public, and still yet you will get a better job. The certificate home is something you'll be able to boast of. You can't tender it anywhere to get a good offer. So what is the main reason the education itself? If it later be useless.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I still have a couple of questions for you, but just hold on. I want to quickly go back to Femi. Femi, I want to ask about the student loan program. I've seen like a couple of interviews with some of the schools management, and they've said no students. They've given one sort of assurance that no students is going to be left behind. That they do have some program for indigent students, right? And
Yeah.
no students is going to be left behind, and they have a student loan program which they I don't know if they've initiated it yet, but they are claiming that would cover for any student that cannot afford to meet up with the increase. So what's your take around that?
All right. You see, what the management is doing is the same thing the government has been doing, which is to always have there's this cosmetic approach to our problems. So you take subsidy away from them, and then you give them 2 cups of rice. You know, you increase fees, and then you say, "Oh, indigent students, you can come and start filling your names." Let me tell you something today. There is no, and Diamond mentioned it. There is no student of the University of Lagos that is not an indigent student. That's the truth. No one chose University of Lagos out of we have because they have surplus. They chose University of Lagos because it is affordable. It's still within
Are you
means.
saying there are no big boys there? There are no big boys because
Big
that's
boys,
part of the
big boys
argument
will go.
I'm saying.
Yeah, in fact, the DSA said at some point that many students use iPhones, and so for that reason, those are very
Exactly.
genuine. Those are very genuine arguments and very asinine. They should not be, used in a university setting. Did you get? Because when you say okay, because students use iPhones for that reason, they should be able to pay the fees. You're just mocking you're mocking logic. You're mocking common sense by saying things like that. So what's I'm saying in essence is that any big boy, any big girl who actually has the money, they would go to Babcock, they would go to Confidence University. They will not come to the University of Lagos where you are sharing your bed space with bed bugs, where the light is not good, where you can go on strike for 8 months, 1 year. So let's be realistic here. You would go to those places. You won't come to University of Lagos. So that's the truth. So when they come up with this palliative talk, like, oh, we have something for our indigent students, you should just know that it is cosmetic. There is nothing real about it. First is to talk about the student loan. They said they're going to start the implementation in September. We are almost moving to October. No implementation. And if you also look at the conditions that were stated, you will find out that that loan is not for anybody. It is just one scheme they just created somewhere for themselves for education profiteers. Because, like I told you, they're about to privatize it totally. And so they're going to have bankers, the education bankers now. That they are creating a whole, chain of commerce again for education. That is what's happening with this student loan. And another argument to it is that if government actually has money to fund a loan scheme, why not just use that money to fund education directly, and increase the budgets from the very meager 5% down to 9% we've been having over these years to something reasonable. It's just like me saying I have money to give to you, Timmy, but I have to give it to OPay and PalmPay first. So you now go and collect that money from OPay. Does that make sense? So if you really have the money to fund a loan scheme, why not just fund education directly? So it does not make any sense. So for the palliatives, also by the management, they've mentioned quite a number of things. One that I find very funny is the Adopt an Akokite program. So wherein they are asking that alumni of the university should adopt somebody, an
Are they
undergraduate
all pass?
uh, that they should adopt. So the first question is to ask that how many alumni of the University of Lagos are actually well to do to start with? How many of them have something they are doing in this kind of economy to then add another burden to themselves? And not just, you're not talking 50,000, you're not talking 60,000, to start paying fees as high as 200,000 naira. So there are quite a number of things around this palliative talk that I find very, very funny to even start debating them on those issues. What we're asking is that fees should revert to status quo because Nigeria is not a poor country to the extent that it cannot fund the education of 1.7 million students. Yes, this is a government that just appointed 48 ministers. You have real senior minister, junior minister, that's Minister of State. You have what was it, SSA, SA to SA, PA to PA, PA to driver. You have an over bloated, governance structure. And these people are not working out of, for God's sake. All of them will be paid. There's always money for token. Senators can
Yeah.
give tokens to themselves. There's always money for that. But for education, and this is the same government that told us that, oh, we've been able to save 1 trillion naira in 2 months of removing, petrol subsidy. What has ASU been asking for? ASU has just been asking for 1.3 trillion since 2009. So if you've been able to save 1 trillion in 2 months, this means that you've saved, at least till this minute, you should have saved like 4 trillion naira. Do you get? So why don't you just solve the issue of ASU? That's the underfunding of education. Just solve it in fact, and you would have enough. So it just goes to tell you that there's a lot of, lies, deception, and irresponsibility on the part of the government, and the management is being used as the front to push this agenda.
Yeah. And I wanted to chip in.
Yes.
Yes, I saw a headline that the Cross Rivers government was going to use 5 billion naira to what's it called? What they call it, to renovate the government house. 5 billion naira. So I think that idea when they say that there's no money is actually like really a joke. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so hello. I wanted to ask a few questions actually, but before I even go to that, I feel like the conversation around education is so multifaceted that sometimes I'm the kind of person that I would say, oh, let's pay ASU, but then I'm looking at those I'm looking at the people that are in ASU and I'm wondering what they're actually fighting for. But then, those are all other conversations. So I'm going to try my best to narrow it into the conversation around fees and ask my questions around that. So for example, now you're doing this protest in University of Lagos, and I think I've seen a few. I think is it Jos, and I've seen a. Do you have
Yes,
information about other universities that are also
exactly.
participating in this? So
Yes.
because
Number.
yeah, can you like share light on that and that for that, because a lot of things center around Lagos and Lagos and Lagos, and then when it's over, everybody will say, oh, why did other people not participate? And then the other people will be telling you, that it's actually not our problem. And that leads me to my second question, which is around state universities. Someone that is going to a Kogi State University now is probably paying around 160 something thousand, like far back. Yeah. So for them, it's like they're looking at it like, it's really not our problem. And you mentioned something that actually brought that thought in my head. You say maybe some people that are in Abuja, they'll say they have a higher standard of living there, so maybe they should pay a little bit higher. But Kogi State is so terrible, right? Like people's standard is so poor there, but the state universities cost them so much. So what's the chance that this is going to also spill over and not just remain, in the
Yes.
federal level? So that's my
All right.
my other question. Yeah.
Okay, so you stated three things actually. I'm noting them. Number one, I just want to quickly chip something about ASU. So ASU, for whatever anyone thinks about them, that's the only vibrant union left in Nigeria as of today. That's the truth. It is ASU that has continued to fight for funding of education till this moment that we are now taking up this whole struggle. It is ASU who has given us a technical report on how government can fund education without increasing fees. They did that as far back as 2010. So we have, if we want to thank any union for holding down this whole plan of the government, I think we should thank ASU. As we were speaking,
So
ASU is
ASU
still
is not
being
in
held.
support of the free increment.
Yes, they are not. They are not. And they released a statement to that. As we speak right now, ASU is being owed 8 months' salary. I think we do this mistake. We mix ASU and management. ASU is not management. Do you get? It is Academic Staff Union of Universities. That means the union of workers and lecturers on campus. So they are also the oppressed people in the society. People at the management level are the ones representing government. The people at the Senate, the people at the governing council, those are the ones representing government on campus. So these are two different things. I see most times people mix it up and say, oh, those lecturers. No, they are not. They are in fact very oppressed, and quite a number of them are with us in this struggle. So that's for the clarification on ASU. So on the national outlook of the fees must fall struggle, yes. Already we have Unijust protesting. Okay, I'm reconnected. So Unijust is protesting. University of Ibadan is organizing. Obafemi Awolowo University is fact. They've just written a letter to letters rather to 11 banks asking them not to receive a dime from any student until these fees are reverted. Yes, that's a union doing serious work. Uni Abuja also protested at that time, but they are coming back again to continue the whole struggle. So it has a national outlook as of today. And so for the state universities also, there is no how Unilag would pay as high as 200,000, that LASU will remain at 50,000. Anybody who is thinking like that should drop that idea right now, because the states would increase the state university fees also. So whatever they are paying now is a joke. If we allow that of Unilag to stand, if we allow that of all these federal universities to stand at the level that it is now, the state governors, the governing council of those universities would have the justification to increase that of the states too. What they will say is that, oh, if federal can pay 150, 160,000, 200,000, why we, the states, we don't have money now. We are not as big as the federal government. Would have to increase our fees. That's what's going to happen. So anything that is happening right now, and if as a Nigerian student, if you're sitting back to think it does not concern you because you are in a state polytechnic, you are in a state university or a state college of education, I think you should snap, from your slumber now, because it is about to eat you at your doorstep. That is just what it is, and we've been conscientizing people around that. And not just that, lecturers also are on the verge of losing their jobs because when students drop out, you would have less students to teach. And for that reason, one lecturer may be given 5 courses to teach. That's the truth. It has happened at LASU in 2013. The lecturers were not actually interested in the struggle until they, started receiving letters that, oh, we will not need your service anymore. That was when they joined the student protest. That, oh, it seems this is going to affect my own livelihood. Aside lecturers, even the people selling on campus, their income will drop. The people selling outside campus, I told one of them, I said, this shawarma, this barbecue, everything that you sell, you are about to be kicked out of business because a lot of students will join you in this hustle. And when they join you in this hustle, there will be competition. You may not sell one shawarma in a day. So there are quite a number of social consequences that are attached to this fee hike issue. And so anyone in the society who is not seeing it as a struggle, for development, a struggle against oppression in society, I think is you're just doing yourself a disservice.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much for that. And if you don't, I would like to like pose another question. So I'm not Femi this time around. So I want to ask, like, averagely, how much do you think it costs a Nigerian student, right, a semester? Okay, let's take it a month. If you're living on campus and off campus, like estimatedly, I don't know if you can do something like a comparison, like a comparative, let me not say analysis, but just like maybe last year or like 2 years ago or just a year, because the inflation, I just want to see how that ties into the cost of everything, because at this point you're already paying a lot more, right? So it's not even about school fees, you're already spending a whole lot more, maybe just on cost of
On
housing,
food,
cost
on
of food, like
transportation.
was mentioned before, right? So you're already paying so much more. So I would just want to know, like, how much that has like affected. Yeah, so maybe if people can like have a little bit of, my question
Okay.
is going on and on.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think Diamond can answer that. Diamond can answer
Yeah,
that.
for
Diamond.
Diamond, yes, she mentioned.
Should I talk?
Yes, 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 yes. You can.
Yes, like how much do you think it costs like a month to be a student on campus and off campus, and maybe compare it to maybe before, if there's anything like that.
But I said earlier that if you want to manage to be in a sport, but I don't have money to spend 1,000 there. So let's take a look at the management. For a day. As a near the student, we well on when near the student for campus, I do 001, which is I don't get there that late in the morning. I don't get there in the afternoon. I just just play around it. You know, I try to cover up something. I make sure okay, I get something to eat at night. Or what times I eat from my roommate. So if I won't be eating from my roommate and I want to manage my stuff or until in the spot I spend 1,000 naira. Because you get things it's spoon of rice but 200 naira. And it's not that it's a big portion, just small portion of rice. If I take for a month now, make okay management is turn out to take it 40,000 naira as a student for a month. The handout is not there. Textbook is not there. Printout is not there. You get me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So for a student to manage for feeding in a month, you spend also 30 to 40,000 naira without printouts, handouts, textbooks and everything. Since they look a 40,
Um,
I'm supposed to be paying 200 plus
Good,
school fees.
Diamond, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate hearing directly from you, honestly. But like, I just want to ask one more question. From your own point of view, do you think that enough is being done? And or do you think that, for example, now like Femi already mentioned that ASU is very vibrant. We would debate that another day. But like another, do you think that more organization um the government, yes, the government, but what do you think from your own perspective you want people to hear, so that maybe other people would you would like to share just outside of our questions?
And all the unions that we have here, because everything was actually bound back to every one of us. They should just put us together and let us fight this together. We the first citizens trying to make living for ourselves. We the first citizens trying to get education at least to set a place for ourselves to to be to be to be illiterate, so that we can give our best to our community, can be a better product. It's actually reduce this because let our unions come together and fight this together, so you can have you can have a voice, can we can talk in one voice, so the government so they can hear us.
Thank you, Diamond. Femi, I want to ask this question again. I don't know if he's there, but do it to me. I don't know if he also spoke about it before. But this kind of things, sometimes I wonder if Nigerian students actually know their right. That like when something happens, they don't need to just like take it in. How do they go about it? Is there a procedure? Is there a way you can advise other people? Like, okay, maybe when you want to do something like this, so come together. Is it your SUG, your president? What do you need to do? Is there any regulation? If there is a procedure to put people that might be lost, because to be honest, do students even know their right? So if there's a procedure that you want to share, if there's any like student or if there's anyone connected to a student, I would like to know, because we got to a point where people started to look at protest from this lens that's not so good. So they are trying to tell you that if you want to do something, you need to go and collect some kind of approval or these things, which kind of like just shuts the door to everything. So is there a procedure? Is there an something like an advice you can give?
Okay, yeah, you said something about do students know their rights? I don't think it's actually peculiar to students. The big question is, do Nigerians know their rights? So it is not peculiar to students. And, the ruling idea in any society is the idea of the ruling class. So what they've been doing over time is to also put a climate of fear, around everybody. Petrol subsidy was removed. Nobody could talk. Everybody just went quiet. And so it's not actually about the students themselves. Like, oh, they are just docile. They are not. No, it is. It is something that is wholesome. It has an holistic view to it. So, talking about how to engage issues like this, I think we've been able to show that clearly in this struggle. So, what did we do when the whole thing, broke out? We first started with social media engagement, reaching out to everybody. Oh, let's discuss this. Let's talk about this fee hike. People started ranting, venting. We moved from there. We started community engagements, printing of flyers. We went around, first of all, around University of Lagos campus, the areas around the communities around. We did that, engage them, sensitize them before coming into the University of Lagos campus to then engage the people on campus. So after that, then we had a survey, to so that when we were speaking with the management, we are speaking with facts. So we conducted a survey of students who could actually pay. Can you pay this? Can you afford it? How did you feel when you heard about the fee hike? We have all of that. And that was where we found out that 93% cannot afford the fees at the University of Lagos. And we're talking about 62,215 students. Do you get? So we did data. It was data driven. It was not just, oh, we're talking from our head. No, and that was why I said majority of the students at University of Lagos are indigent students. So we should not start this class section of, oh, some people are rich kids. No, that's not true. Majority are actually indigent students. So those are the procedures. And then before we finally announced a date for protests, we have done quite a number of mobilization work. We reached out to civil society, reached out to lawyers, everybody in society who are actually stakeholders and interested people. Because, anyways, education is a public interest matter. So we did all of that. And to also answer you directly, there is no need to take any permits for protests. That has been settled as far back as 2007 when Femi Falana went to court on behalf of the former president Buhari. So it was Buhari against. There was a protest. There was a rally Buhari was involved in. Chuba Okadibo was involved in, and then they were tear gassed. And they went to court. The police was saying you need a police permit to protest and all of that. So that was, settled as far back as 2007 that no Nigerian citizen needs any permit from the police to protest because it's also not logical. You've dealt with me, you've beaten me, and then you're still determining that I'll come and pick up a permit from you before I can cry, or you determine how I would cry, or where I would cry, or even when I would cry. So there is no need for any permits of any such, and so that's why we've had our protests, and they've continued to be peaceful, even though the government has, through their apparata in this particular case,
Yeah, you
DSM.
got arrested at the point. I
Yeah,
think at the first protest, the video you got
first protest.
arrested.
Yes,
Wow.
fired, shot, canisters of tear gas, brutalized
Wow.
students. A lot of things happened that day. 9 of
Yeah,
us were
we saw it.
arrested. Yeah, so despite all these intimidation tactics, also, you cannot protest on campus. They've done a lot of psychological damage to our people. They tried. They really tried. And I think someone should applaud them, quote and unquote, for that. Oh, the campus is a sacred place. You cannot protest on campus. You can only protest outside. Even outside, it has to be some meters away from the campus gates. A lot of, very funny things were thrown at the student at that time that really caused confusion. But thankfully, we were able to hold our ground, educate them correctly. And that's why you can see even some of these little concessions that you can get as of today. But the students are saying they are not backing down on reduction because they just reduced, some amount. I know you are aware already. They are not backing down that the real demand is for fees to fall flat and not to bend.
That's a strong
Wonderful,
message.
wonderful. Wonderful,
Uh,
Femi. I thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Honestly, you're doing a great job, and they
really.
cannot
Mhm.
emphasize you're doing an absolutely great job. You don't even necessarily need to do this, but I know there's something that motivates you to still be on ground and actually do this. I remember you were trying to also spread awareness. Even before the elections, you were trying to spread awareness in that same institution, and it was not easy. But still, even despite that difficulty, you still went back to do your to still fight for what you believe is just, and be the voice to thousands of students that don't have a voice at this point for some reason or the other, right? So you're absolutely doing a great job, and thank you for coming on the podcast. In fact, you should have been
Well,
here early because, wanted to have a series on activism and so many other things that we wanted to discuss with you, but I'm very sure that we would bring you back very soon to
and
discuss
I'll
other
be
issues.
always
So yeah,
available. I can assure you of that.
yeah. So you're not like Davido, you're not unavailable.
I'm very available. Thank you.
All right, thank you
Yeah.
very much, guys. Yeah, Halisa.
Yes, yes. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank
Not
you.
All
see,
right.
you hear from us next time.
Okay.
You're listening to the Out of the Box podcast with Timmy, Halisa, and Sinosure.